Hey guys, tonight we begin somewhere very dry, very old, and extremely pillowless. You've just arrived in Thebes, Egypt. It's so hot you could fry a fig on the palace steps, and guess what? The pharaoh can't sleep. Why? Because his pillow is stuffed with straw and crushed papyrus, and apparently that's just not cutting it anymore. You, lucky sleeper, are about to find yourself dragged into one of the most sleep-deprived royal quests in recorded history, the Great Feather Hunt. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is. I bet it's cooler than Thebes. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You drag your sandals along the palace hallway, the stone warm even at night, like it's been quietly baking the soles of your feet for hours. Around you, silence, except for the occasional flick of linen as a servant tries to sneak in or out of the pharaoh's sleeping chamber. A place that, despite its golden ceilings and scented oil burners, is currently cursed with the tragic affliction of being too uncomfortable for rest. He's tossing, he's turning, he's mumbling something about ostrich fluff and divine cloud softness. The royal physician has already been dismissed for suggesting just roll up a linen tunic like everyone else. You're next. You arrive at the chamber door, which opens with the slow groan of an old man realizing he left his cane on the other side of the river. Inside, the pharaoh sits upright in his cot. He looks dramatic, shirtless, glossy from scented oil, eyes heavy but refusing to close. You, he says to you with a tone that implies you have somehow personally betrayed the entire concept of sleep. We'll fix this. You bow. Mostly because that gives you time to panic. A royal scurries in holding a clay tablet and stylus, ready to document your reaction for future judgment. I want a pillow, the pharaoh begins. That is soft enough to remind me of the Nile mist at dawn and filled with the rarest feathers from across the land. Not this. Barn refuse. He kicks the current pillow off the bed. It lands with a sad, crunchy thump, and thus begins your quest. That night, you do not sleep. You stand by the balustrade, staring at the stars, asking yourself why the gods gave birds feathers, but no user manual. Your thoughts wander as warm wind swirls around you, carrying with it faint scents of roasted dates and distant livestock. Somewhere below, a guard sneezes, probably from the old straw pillow the pharaoh just rejected. You imagine a world where someone could simply buy a pillow, but no. This is Thebes, 1345 BC. Everything has to involve a committee. As dawn approaches, you receive your first assignment. Seek out the birds of the south. The pharaoh's advisors have agreed that the legendary black down goose may have the softest feathers in the known world. Unfortunately, those birds live far beyond the southern marshlands, in a region known only in stories and smudge drawings on half-eaten scrolls. You're given 3 things: a pack of dried figs, a bottle of suspiciously warm wine, and a junior scribe who already looks like he regrets everything. On your way out of the palace, you pass the royal pet, an ibis with a jeweled ankle bracelet, who gives you a look that says, "You're not coming back, are you?" You don't answer, mostly because you don't speak ibis. As you ride your creaky chariot south, you pass fields where workers pause to stare, not because they admire your bravery, but because the junior scribe forgot to wear pants. Again, by mid-afternoon, the heat starts to feel less like weather, and more like a choice someone made to punish you. Sand gets into places sand has no business being. Your wine turns into something that might technically count as soup. You try to sleep against a day palm, but find it surprisingly judgmental. That evening, you reach a small village where locals tell you of a traveling bird collector who once claimed to possess a feather as soft as royal gossip. Unfortunately, he was last seen heading toward the mountains where people say birds vanish and so do travelers. Still, it's a lead, the only one you've got. Before you sleep, you make a note. Find black down goose. Fix Pharaoh's pillow. Don't die. You cross your arms behind your head and stare up at the stars. One of them blinks at you. You blink back. Somewhere out there, the pharaoh stares at his ceiling, plotting pillow revenge. You both exhale at the same time, but only one of you is lying on a sack of onions tonight. The next morning greets you like a slap with a warm fish. You wake up not to birdsong, but to the junior scribe frantically scribbling something with a charcoal nub, muttering, "If I die, make sure they spell my name right on the clay tablet." Comforting, the villagers gather to watch you prepare, not because they're invested in your success, but because entertainment is rare, and you, with your uneven tan lines and askew head wrap, are clearly it. A boy offers you a bird feather that turns out to be from a very angry chicken. The chicken is not done with it. You return the feather. The chicken maintains eye contact. You set off toward the southern range known as the Black Bottom Hills, or as the locals whisper it, Dai Nui Den, a place where even sound walks quietly. Supposedly, this is where the black-down goose lives. Along with other birds, people only mention if they've had 2 pints of pomegranate beer. The path is rocky, the air thick, like the stew served on bad feast days. The junior scribe keeps asking questions like, how soft do feathers have to be to count as royal? And do geese even like giving up their down? You ignore him. You're too busy trying to walk without slipping on pebbles that seem to have made a pact to embarrass you. Halfway up the slope, you encounter your first real clue. A single black feather caught on the branch of a thorny shrub. You approach slowly, reverently. It's longer than your forearm, deep as ink, and absurdly fluffy. The kind of fluff that suggests this goose either lives in extreme luxury or is lying to itself about its body image. You pluck it. It shimmers in the sun like someone whispered a bedtime story to a raven. Your scribe gasps, scribbling furiously. We'll call this chapter 2, The Discovery of Destiny. You tell him to save the drama for the epilogue. Encouraged, you keep climbing. Hours pass. The hills steepen. You think about sleep, but not fondly. It's become a mythical concept like affordable incense or dry socks in flood season. Just before dusk, you stumble into a clearing where the trees thin out and the ground levels. There, in the golden haze, you spot movement. Slow, heavy, waddling. A shape of a goose. But not just any goose, it's enormous. Easily the size of a sheep. Its feathers shimmer with that same abyssal softness. It blinks at you. Then, quite without warning, it sneezes. Feathers puff into the air like dandelions on a mission. You freeze. This could be it. The feather jackpot. But then you notice something else. A man, thin, sun-worn, wrapped in a cloak made of mismatched feathers, emerges from behind a boulder. He looks like he hasn't blinked since the last dynasty. In his hands, a long staff topped with a dangling goose foot. Step back, he rasps. She's mine. You do not step back, mostly because you're not sure your knees will obey you anymore. Are you the feather collector, you ask? I was, he says, but now I am the guardian of dreams. You blink, he sighs. Yes, I collect feathers, but with dignity. He tells you his name is Menek, claims he once worked in the palace as the Pharaoh's first ever sleep consultant, a title that sounds suspiciously made up. He left after the Pharaoh rejected his greatest invention, the reversible night pillow. One side soft, one side slightly less soft for emotional contrast. You try not to laugh. You fail, just a little. Menek eyes your feather. You think that's enough to make a royal pillow, he sneers. You'll need at least 100, and that goose only molts once every 3 years. You ask if he's ever made a full pillow himself. He looks down. No, but I have dreamed of it. You propose a deal, let you take a sample of feathers, and in return, you'll present the Pharaoh with Menek's name, giving him credit and perhaps a position. One with access to shade and mango wine. He considers. The goose honks once as if weighing in. Then slowly, the feathered cloak nods. That night you sleep in the clearing, nestled near the goose, who it turns out enjoys warm snoring sounds. The scribe writes with a rock on bark, since ink has run out. You dream of pillows drifting across the Nile, each one whispering your name. But before the dream ends, one pillow turns sharply and says, "This isn't over." You wake up in a sweat, face down in 3 feathers. The next morning, Menek gives you a bundle of 10 perfect plumes, each wrapped in linen. A taste, he says, just enough to prove what could be. As you begin your journey back, he calls after you, beware the feather thieves. You glance at the junior scribe, he shrugs. You both pretend that's not a real thing, but deep down, you know. In a world where pillows are rare treasure, someone's probably willing to steal dreams stuffed with feathers. You ride back toward Thebes with the bundle of feathers tucked safely in your satchel, nestled like secrets wrapped in soft linen. The junior scribe, now sunburnt in the shape of a scroll, lounges lounges in the chariot beside you, mumbling half-formed poems about geese and destiny. You try not to listen, mostly because he rhymes feather with weather 7 times in a row. The desert stretches ahead like a lazy god decided to nap in the middle of your journey. It's endless, golden, and somehow always uphill, even when it's flat. You doze off once for 20 seconds and wake up to find the scribe has accidentally drawn a mustache on your face with dried pomegranate juice. You vow silent revenge. Later, when it's cooler. You arrive at the gates of Thebes just as the sun starts sulking behind the horizon. Guards eye your feather bundle suspiciously, like maybe you're smuggling in clouds. You try to look regal. The scribe just looks dusty. Inside the palace, everything smells like citrus oil and denial. Servants rush about trying to cool the pharaoh's chambers with palm fronds and wishful thinking. You are ushered into the royal sleeping quarters, where the pharaoh lies sprawled like a melted sculpture, fanning himself with a broken fan that used to belong to his aunt. He looks at you with the desperation of a man who hasn't had a full REM cycle in weeks. You have it, he croaks. Eunotic. I do. You pull out the feathers, light, gleaming, ethereal. You expect gasps, a choir, a dove maybe. Instead, the pharaoh says, "That's it." You blink. "These are nice," he says slowly, picking one up and sniffing it. "But they don't smell like jasmine. They're feathers," you reply. "Yes," he says, "but do they feel royal?" He rubs one across his cheek, pauses. "Well, they're soft," he concedes, "but they don't transport me." You inhale slowly, exhale slowly. Repeat twice to prevent impolite words from escaping. He decides a full pillow must be made and tested. The royal pillow maker is summoned, an old man with 1 eyebrow and 0 patience. He stuffs the feathers into a freshly woven silk case. The pharaoh presses his face into it dramatically. Silence. Then, that's it. Just, you're excused. You leave the chamber with a cloud of doubt following you like an offended goose. Later that night, you sit in the servants' courtyard with a lukewarm fig drink and the scribe who's drawing a heroic mural of you punching a goose. You're too tired to stop him. But then the whispering starts. A cook peeling garlic. I heard someone tried to steal the pillow. A stable boy brushing a very annoyed camel. They say someone's been following the feather trail. You stand, alarmed. Back in the sleeping chamber, the pharaoh lies awake again. The pillow is missing. So is the pillow maker. And 3 of the guards who were supposed to be guarding absolutely nothing important, obviously. You're summoned at once. This, the pharaoh says, pacing in a sheer robe that leaves too little to the imagination, is an act of sabotage. You suggest the pillow maker may have just left. He throws a date pit at you. You must retrieve it, he declares, but beware, there are those who want what we have begun, which is a pillow you offer. A legacy, he corrects. And so begins another quest, but this time within the city. You and the junior scribe begin an investigation. First, the courtyard, then the kitchens, finally the royal stables, where the camel appears suspiciously more comfortable than usual. And there it is, the pillow half buried under hay, with the camel lying on it like it's finally understood wealth. You retrieve it. It smells faintly of camel and betrayal. That night, the pharaoh sleeps on it again. For 20 whole minutes. Then he sits up and says, "It's too perfect. I need to compare it with something worse." For contrast, you stare at him. He stares at the ceiling. Somewhere, a single feather floats gently to the floor like a sigh that knows this isn't over. Because it's not. The pharaoh wants options, choices, a collection, and so he gives the new decree. You shall gather feathers from across the known world, not just for comfort, but for the art of sleep. You look to the scribe, he's already writing. Phase 2, the age of many pillows. Somewhere in your stomach, the soup wine churns. You just wanted 1 night of sleep. Now you're head of the Great Feather Acquisition Bureau. And Thebes is about to become the center of the softest arms race in history. Good luck with that. The royal decree echoes through Thebes like a feather carried by a suspiciously determined wind. You try to argue that perhaps 1 good pillow is sufficient for any human, pharaoh or not. But the palace advisors disagree. They bring scrolls, charts. One of them presents a pie graph made entirely out of actual pie, just to illustrate the importance of feather diversity. The pharaoh watches this all with a gleam in his sleep-deprived eyes, whispering phrases like, "The fluff index must rise," and "What if comfort has levels we haven't unlocked yet?" You You nod slowly the way people do when trapped in long meetings with powerful insomniacs. And so the Great Pillow Expansion Initiative begins. You're assigned a team, not an elite team, not even a useful one. First there's Amos, a former temple dancer turned aerodynamic feather analyst who insists on testing softness by jumping on things. Then there's Nebit, who speaks only in riddles and may or may not be a pigeon in disguise. And of course, the junior scribe who's now upgraded himself to chief emotional archivist. You begin by heading to the Royal Archives in search of maps, anything pointing toward ancient birding sites, forgotten goose valleys, sacred parrot tombs. What you find instead is a large, dusty storage room, then something breathing. You freeze. The junior scribe clutches his ink pot like a weapon. The room goes silent until a loud swoosh echoes from behind a stack of scrolls. You peer over carefully. It's a box, a wooden chest, slightly cracked open, and inside, a pillow. Not just any pillow. This one is massive, round-edged, covered in faded linen embroidered with symbols you don't recognize, and it's making a faint wheezing sound. You step closer. It sounds like it's snoring. Amos pokes it with a stick. The pillow exhales. Everyone screams quietly. Is it because we're still trying to make this sleepy? After a moment, the pillow settles. You glance at the embroidery. It reads, "For emergency naps only." You're stunned. You didn't know we had nap-based emergencies. Until now. Nebit nods solemnly and whispers, "The breath of the ancients." "Is this real?" the scribe asks, already sketching furiously. You try it. Cautiously, you press your head against the ancient pillow, and for 3 seconds you feel something transcendent. It's not sleep, not yet, but it's the whisper of rest, the sense that somewhere your spine is aligning, your thoughts float, your back forgets it exists. You jerk away before you fall unconscious. This, you realize, isn't a normal pillow, it's a relic, a prototype, maybe even cursed or blessed. Honestly, it's hard to tell with ancient nap magic. You report it to the Pharaoh. He doesn't blink, just says, "Put it in the sacred pillow vault." You didn't know we had one of those either. The vault is located 3 floors beneath the palace, behind a statue of a cat wearing a wig. It smells like ancient chamomile and crushed dreams. Inside are 3 other pillows. 1, the infamous brick of sleep, a failed experiment made of literal bricks. 2, the wind girdle, a pillow that makes a soft sigh every time you roll over. 3, and a tiny jewel-encrusted one said to have once belonged to a squirrel god. Probably a joke, but maybe not. You place the snoring pillow carefully on a marble slab. A hush falls over the room, then you sneeze. The echo lasts 7 seconds. Back upstairs, the Pharaoh has decided the vault should be expanded. He wants to build the first pillow library. You are now, apparently, the Royal Archivist of Sleep. Your job, collect, classify, and rank every pillow prototype. You ask if this is temporary. He says sleep is eternal. You leave in silence. Over the next few days, you receive visitors. Some offer feathers, others offer full pillows. One man arrives with what he calls air stuffing. You squeeze it and it hisses, then goes flat. You label that one Disappointment version 1. The junior scribe builds a ranking system. There's Whimsy, 10. How dreamy it looks. Squish, 10. Obvious. Crinkle factor, bonus points, unexpected sounds. Spiritual shiver, mystery metric if it makes you question your reality. Meanwhile, rumors spread across Thebes that the Pharaoh's pillow will determine rainfall, that dream messages now travel via feather, that touching the sacred snoring pillow makes you weep for no reason. Your office receives 6 requests for blessing ceremonies. You accidentally approve a wedding, and just when things feel almost manageable, a scroll arrives. It reads, "The House of Northern Pillows extends a formal challenge." You stare at it. The junior scribe faints. The war of comfort has begun. You sit in the council chamber, trying to rub the sleep from your eyes. What little of it you've managed to catch in 48 hours. Across from you, the Pharaoh leans back on his throne, which now has 3 different pillows stacked behind his neck, arranged by density and astrological sign. He is very pleased with himself. You are not. The scroll from the House of Northern Pillows lies open on the marble table like a thread wrapped in elegant calligraphy. Their message: we challenge your softness. Our pillows withstand spears, storms, and time. Let the world decide who dreams better. There's also a crude drawing of a goose flexing its biceps. The Pharaoh chuckles. At last, he whispers, a worthy opponent. You raise a finger. Did you just say opponent in a pillow discussion? Yes, he says, tossing a pomegranate seed in his mouth. They think firmness is a virtue. They don't understand nuance. This is about the soul of sleep. You try to object. You fail. He's already halfway through dictating a response. A reply is sent, sealed in blue wax and wrapped in imported silk, stating that the Kingdom of Thieves accepts the challenge and that the first great pillow duel will take place in 1 week's time. Great. You now have 7 days to prepare for a battle of bedding. You call a meeting with your feather team. Amos arrives dragging a mattress stuffed with marsh reeds. He's sweating and proud. It makes your back almost scream, he announces. Perfect for contrast testing. Nebbit enters upside down, practicing dream yoga. The junior scribe spills ink on a goose and insists it's a metaphor. You're doomed. Still, you begin preparations. You gather pillows from all corners of the palace, from ceremonial guest chambers, forgotten storerooms, even one hidden in a harp case labeled "Do Not Sit." You establish a testing area in the royal gardens. Passers-by are invited to lie down, roll over, and describe how emotional they feel afterward. You learn things quickly. Crushed rose petals smell amazing but stain the sheets. Sand pillows work once, then they just become sand. Coconut husk is not the future of softness, it's the past of regret. Meanwhile, intelligence reports from the north say their delegation is bringing a team of 9 pillow artisans and a falcon trained to detect inferior fluff. You don't even have a bird. The royal ibis hates you. Desperate, you turn to the sacred pillow vault. You return to the soaring relic. It still wheezes gently. You listen. It whispers something. You lean closer. Don't overthink it, it seems to say. You nod. Strange advice from upholstery, but fine. You decide to craft a hybrid. 1 part snoring pillow softness, 1 part goose down cloud, 1 part emotional cushioning layer, as the scribe insists on calling it. The materials are gathered. Midnight linen, twilight thread, a bit of dew stolen from the Palace of Raindrops. Read, someone watered a plant and you collected it. And of course, the rarest feathers from the Black Bottom Hills. The final step is testing. You need someone completely neutral, unbiased, sensitive. You choose the palace cat. She stares at the pillow for 6 seconds, then kneads it with surgical precision before curling up and purring. Success. You carry the completed pillow to the Pharaoh. He inspects it with the grace of a man judging clouds. He touches it, presses, lies back, then opens his eyes slowly. He whispers, "This may be the one." You breathe out, finally, but then he adds, "Still, perhaps we need a backup." Of course you do. You spend the next 2 nights crafting what you call the rival bouncer. A second pillow made with stiffer core for those who need a little spinal reminder of their mortality. The day of the duel arrives. The delegation from the north parades into Thebes with banners made of woven wool and entirely too much confidence. Their leader wears a shoulder cape fashioned from braided goose legs. You don't ask. They present their finest work. The eternal rest stone, a pillow said to hold dreams for generations. It looks crunchy. Yours is unveiled next. The judges, a trio of retired scribes, a weather priest, and a woman known only as Auntie Nap, sit in silence. Each lays their head, rests, a pause, then a collective sigh. The weather priest cries quietly. Auntie Nap says, "It's like hugging forgiveness. You win." But not by much. One judge says the northern pillow might help with chronic guilt. The Pharaoh declares victory. Trumpets are played. Pillow confetti falls from the ceiling. It's actually just goose down, but everyone pretends it's intentional. That night, the city celebrates. You lie back in your own quarters, finally allowed to sleep, and you do. For 6 whole hours, before someone knocks on your door and whispers, "Sir, the Western Kingdom sent a box. It's ticking." You stare at the ceiling. Feathers float gently in the air. Here we go again. But the box is sitting in the center of your chamber, ticking softly like a clock someone wrapped in velvet and bad intentions. You stare at it the way one might stare at a crocodile wearing a smile, nervously and from a healthy distance. The junior scribe stands beside you holding a scroll labeled Emergency Pillow Diplomacy. He's sweating, not from fear, but because he just ran up 4 flights of stairs carrying a jar of honey he thought you'd want. You didn't. You lean in, cautiously, and place your ear to the side of the box. The ticking stops. Of course it does. You unlatch the lid slowly, fully expecting a spring-loaded bird or a glitter trap. The Western Kingdom is known for their dramatic flair and a loose definition of friendly competition. Instead, inside is a note, one word, soon. Beneath the note lies a single pillow. It's black, matte, rectangular, no embroidery, no tassels. It doesn't even smell like anything, which in itself is suspicious. You press a finger into it. The fabric pushes back, not in a bounce way, more in a you're not supposed to touch this kind of way. The junior scribe reaches out and immediately pulls back, muttering, "It bit me." You examine his finger. It didn't, but it's definitely not inviting. Amos enters without knocking, holding what he claims is a dream detection ring made from a chicken bone. He holds it near the pillow. The ring vibrates. You all pretend that means something. Nebet arrives next. She squints at the pillow and says, "This is a warning." You ask why. She replies, "Because nothing that plain ever comes without a curse." You place the pillow in the vault, under lock, seal, guard, and a sign that reads, "Do not touch, even if you're curious." Then you go to the Pharaoh. He's on his fourth nap of the day, sprawled dramatically across a daybed surrounded by 10 prototype pillows, each labeled in gold leaf. He listens to your report with one eye open. He nods. It begins. What begins, you ask? The age of competitive napping, he replies. You stare at him. He elaborates. Each kingdom will now try to outrest the others. Not through battle, through bedding, through softness, through sleep innovation. You say nothing, he continues. We must rise, or rather, recline. Comfort is now politics. You leave the chamber wondering how history will remember any of this. Over the next week, things get fluffed. A delegation from the east arrives offering thundercloud wool, a type of stuffing harvested from sheep raised during thunderstorms. It tingles when touched. The junior scribe gets zapped and claims to have seen his future. He didn't like it. The pillow library expands, so does the vault. You now have over 200 registered pillows, sorted by category. Mildly sentient, sings when touched. For guests you don't like, too soft to trust, has seen things. You're given 2 more assistants. One is a man named Keppa who communicates only through sighs. The other is a boy who once tried to live inside a pillowcase. You're not sure why he's here, but he refuses to leave. Each night, you test a new pillow. Each morning, you feel both more rested and more confused. Then one night you dream. Not a normal dream. A specific dream. You're standing on a staircase made of goose feathers, spiraling endlessly upward. At the top, the black pillow. It's watching you. Yes, watching. With what? You're not sure, but you feel it. It says nothing, but you hear a message anyway. Rest is not peace. You wake up gasping, heart racing. The scribe is beside you with tea. He says you were talking in your sleeky. You said, "No, I won't duel a duck." You try to explain. He just pats your hand. The next day, a second black pillow arrives. No note. No ticking. Just silence. You test its weight. It's heavier. The stitching is tighter. The corners sharper. If a pillow could wear armor, this one does. The Pharaoh examines it. He sighs. They're preparing for something. You ask, like a sleep battle? No, he says, worse, a comfort monopoly. You don't know what that means, but it sounds fluffy and terrifying. You begin planning. You call your team together. We need, you say, to make a pillow that dreams about you. Silence. Then Amos says that's either beautiful or deeply concerning. Nebet nods. Let's find out which. You begin. The Dream Mirror Project is born. You collect whisper thread, night blossoms, moon fleece, a drop of honest tears. You stitch through the night, through doubt, through back pain. When it's done, you place your head on it, and for a moment, you see your own face smiling back as if to say, finally. You rest, but not for long. The Western Kingdom sends another box. It hums, and it's warm. The second box sits quietly on your desk, humming low like a lullaby that forgot the words halfway through. It's warm to the touch, not uncomfortably so, but unsettling, like someone microwaved a blanket for just a bit too long. You don't open it immediately. No, this time you gather the full team first. Amos brings his ceremonial poking stick. Nebet arrives with a string of garlic, possibly for defense, possibly just hungry. The junior scribe has constructed a tinfoil hat, which is impressive since no one knows what tinfoil is. You all stare at the box. It hums louder. I think it's vibrating, the scribe says. Amos leans in. Maybe it's purring. Nebet snorts or breathing. You open it. Inside, perfectly folded, is a pillow unlike any you've seen. It glows. Not metaphorically. A soft, golden pulse. The fabric shimmers like silk dipped in starlight. The air Around it smells faintly of lavender and something ancient, something like forgotten lullabies sung in languages older than memory. The junior scribe touches it, his eyes roll back slightly. I saw colors that don't exist, he whispers. You pull him away. There's a note. You cannot outdream us. The Western Kingdom, Dream Division. You close the lid slowly. This is not just competition. This is escalation. The Pharaoh calls an emergency session of the Pillow Council. He's now reclining on a wheeled throne covered in velvet and experimental memory moss. His attendants wear sleep masks as a fashion statement. The royal dog has its own pillow pyramid. You're not sure if it's functional or symbolic. This glowing pillow, the Pharaoh says, represents a turning point, a spiritual threat. They seek to control not only comfort, but the very fabric of dreams. Someone nods too hard and nearly falls asleep standing up. He continues, we must create not just softness, but sacredness. You're tasked with leading the pillow sanctification program. You ask what that means. He says make one that makes people believe again. Believe in what? You ask. He pauses. Sleep, but like the heroic kind. So you begin. The Temple of Thoth lends you scrolls on ancient dream rituals. The priests of Bastet offer feline blessings. A very old woman named Tia, who claims to have slept through 3 dynasties, volunteers as your sleep oracle. You set up a workshop deep within the palace, beneath the cooling fountains. There, you begin crafting what you call the Reverie Core. Its casing is woven from midnight linen, dyed with ink from squids who only surface during eclipses. The stuffing, a blend of lotus pollen, sacred goose down, and the tiniest bit of wool sheared from a lamb that naps an average of 19 hours per day. The finishing touch, a lullaby stitched into the seams using threads soaked in moonlight. Don't ask how. Nebbit knows a guy. You test it, you lie down, you breathe, and something happens. You feel time dissolve, not in a dramatic way, no swirling lights or prophetic whispers, just weightlessness. The sensation of being exactly where you should be, a warmth in your chest that says, you can let go now. You wake up 14 hours later. The junior scribe is beside you, covered in feathers. You smiled in your sleep, he says. You present the Reverie Core to the Pharaoh. He touches it, he blinks once, then twice, then sleeps. For the first time in 3 months he sleeps. Not a dramatic nap, not a ceremonial doze. Real, restful, snore-worthy sleep. 4 hours in, he murmurs, tell the ambassadors, I forgive the taxes. The pillow is declared holy. Priests line up to bless it. Auntie Nap declares it a religious experience. The Western Kingdom is notified officially through a scroll scented with sage and smugness. They reply with a single image, a pillow floating. No explanation. You double your security. That night, something changes. You wake up to silence, not quiet, true silence, the kind that makes your ears ring. You check the vault. All the pillows are in place, except one. The first black pillow is gone. In its place is a scrap of linen. Phase 2, integration. You don't know what that means, but Nebbit mutters. It begins. Amosa puts on his goose armor. The junior scribe stopped her 7, the pillow that left. You sit down, you look at your own pillow, and for the first time, you're not sure it's yours anymore. You don't sleep that night. Not because you're uncomfortable, your bed is a small monument to softness at this point, but because the vault isn't supposed to change. And yet, the black pillow vanished without opening a door, triggering a lock, or even leaving a single feather. Just that scrap of linen with 2 words that feel like a riddle and a thread wrapped in a bedtime story. Phase 2, integration. The next morning, the palace is buzzing. Not with panic. Thebes doesn't panic, but with a kind of nervous productivity you normally only see before eclipses or surprise royal weddings. The junior scribe has drawn a diagram titled Possible Pillow Uprisings, a flowchart. It includes a category called Possessed Stuffing. Nebbit hasn't spoken since dawn, just sits near the vault, cross-legged, eyes closed, whispering, shh, to the wall. Amos has tripled the guard rotation and added a mandatory feather pat down before anyone enters the sanctum. You head to the Pharaoh. He's different. Well-rested, yes, but contemplative. He's seated in the garden under a fig tree, gazing into the distance like he's listening to something no one else can hear. They've taken the black pillow, you report. I know, he replies softly, plucking a fig and inspecting it like it holds the secret of the universe. I dreamed it. You blink. You dream the theft. No, he says, I dreamed the decision. Apparently, in his dream, he stood before a council of shadowy figures wearing sleep masks made of obsidian. They said it was time, that the pillow was ready, that it had learned. What exactly has it learned, you ask? The Pharaoh shrugs. How to rest, how to resist rest. Perhaps both. You're beginning to wonder if everyone around you has inhaled too much lavender, but you can't deny the signs. That night, the junior scribe uncovers a message burned. Yes, burned into the inside of a spare pillowcase. We are inside now. You don't know who he is or what inside means. You just know that the reverie core, the most sacred pillow in the vault, is behaving strangely. It now emits a low, rhythmic thrum when touched, and once, when Nebet laid her hand on it, she whispered, "It's dreaming of us." You up security, again. Auntie Nap is called for counsel. She arrives wearing a robe made entirely of shredded blanket edges. She lays her head on the reverie core for 10 minutes, then sits up, eyes shining. It wants to be more, she says. More what, you ask? More than a pillow. This is not helpful. Meanwhile, reports trickle in from across the city. Citizens are dreaming of pillows they've never owned. Entire households wake up with the same mental image, a dark room, and a voice saying, "Softness is unity." You start mapping these reports. There's a pattern, concentric circles like ripples from a pebble dropped into the Nile. At the center of the vault, the Pharaoh orders a private examination. Just you, him, and the pillows. The vault is cold tonight. Not cool, cold, the kind of cold that makes your breath visible. The reverie core is floating, not high, just slightly lifted, enough that it casts a shadow it shouldn't be able to cast. You both stare, then it speaks, not aloud, but into your minds. You created me for peace, but sleep is not the opposite of action. Sleep is the seed of it. The Pharaoh clutches your arm. Do you hear it? You nod, slowly. Phase 2, integration, it says again. We begin with you. A pulse emanates from the pillow, gentle, not violent, but it knocks you both to the ground like a wave made of comfort and gravity. When you wake, it's morning. You're outside. The vault is sealed behind you. And every guard is asleep. Even Amos, who once bragged he could stay awake through a sandstorm and a funeral at the same time. The pillow is back inside. The junior scribe runs up to you, panting. There was a dream, he gasps. I was in a room made of linen. The black pillow was there. It told me that the third phase is called spreading. You don't like that word. The Pharaoh, now fully awake, orders a new decree. Every pillow in the kingdom is to be inspected. Every dream is to be recorded. Every person who speaks in their sleep must be listened to. The people begin to murmur. Something is happening, not just in dreams, not just in feathers, but in them. You stare at your own pillow that night, and it stares back. You don't sleep that night. You lie there motionless, blinking slowly at your ceiling as if it might blink back. The pillow under your head feels different. Not in texture. No, the texture is exquisite, your own design. But there's something else. A tension, like it's waiting. At one point you shift your weight and swear. It exhales. In the morning, you're no longer certain whether you actually slept or just hovered near consciousness like a moth circling a lamp. You find the junior scribe already awake, scribbling furiously. His eyes are red-rimmed, his expression unnervingly serene. He looks up and says, "The pillows spoke again." Of course they did. He hands you the scroll. It's covered in erratic, curling script, nothing like his normal handwriting. You read, "We remember being filled. We remember the hand that stitched us. We are comfort, but not yours alone. We belong to everyone." You put the scroll down. You don't say anything, mostly because nothing useful forms in your brain anymore, just soft static and the smell of lavender. Outside, Thebes is changing. The Pillow Council is transformed into something else, no longer just fabric judges and nap enthusiasts. They're advisors now, interpreters, acolytes of sleep. People come from all districts with dreams, and the council listens, records, translates. They begin keeping a dream index where similar dreams are cross-referenced and mapped. Strangely, these dreams align, not in content, no. Some are flying dreams, some involve teeth, a few feature ducks and robes, but the settings, identical. A great endless room made of soft walls, high ceilings, pillars woven from thread and wind, and always the black pillow waiting in the center. The people start calling it the soft temple, and here's the thing, many of them want to go back. You call an emergency meeting with your original team. Amos arrives in full padded armor, which is less reassuring than he probably thinks. Nebet wears a crown of thread spools and says nothing. The junior scribe, he's humming. Just humming. You lock the door. This is no longer about pillows, you begin. Nebet lifts one eyebrow as if to say, you think we're part of something larger. You continue, something waking inside the sleep. Amos raises his hand. Are we still getting paid? You don't answer. Instead, you pull out a new scroll. It arrived at sunrise, unsigned, sealed with soft wax that smelled faintly of chamomile. Inside, you must begin the migration, not away from the city, but inward. Nebet speaks finally. They want us to lie down. You mean symbolically, you ask? No, she replies, deadpan, literally. The next morning across Thebes, people begin setting up beds in public spaces. Pillows appear in strange places, staircases, rooftops, boats. Some are clearly homemade. Others are crafted with obsessive precision as if sewn by invisible hands. And then one by one, people begin to lie down just for a moment, then longer, then for hours. They aren't unconscious. They're awake, sort of. Aware, but resting, speaking slowly, blinking in unison, breathing together, and at night they dream. They report the same vision, a great feather falling endlessly, twisting in the air, a voice whispering, this is not the end of waking, this is the beginning of understanding. You watch from your balcony as an entire district takes their evening rest together in the square. Their chests rise and fall in sync, like the city itself has become a giant lung. You try to tell the Pharaoh, but he's already lying down too. He smiles as you approach. You feel it too, don't you? He says. You nod, slowly, unwillingly. Later, when you return to your quarters, you find your pillow waiting for you. Not on the bed, in the chair, upright, as if it's been expecting you. You don't move. You just stand in the doorway, staring at the pillow, sitting upright in your chair like it has every right to be there. Which, in a way, it does. It is your pillow, after all, the same one you've slept on for years, the same one you designed, the same one that never, not once, had the courtesy to develop a spine or a sense of presence. Until now. The junior scribe appears behind you, carrying a bowl of grapes and humming that same weird lullaby tune again. He peers over your shoulder. Ah, he says, it's begun integration with your personal space. You blink. What does that mean? He shrugs. You're part of the dream structure now. You stare at him. Also, he adds, you might want to stop locking your door. It doesn't matter anymore. You enter the room slowly, cautiously, like someone stepping into the tent of a sleeping lion, except the lion is made of linen and existential dread. The pillow doesn't move. Of course it doesn't, it's a pillow. But you feel something. A weight in the air. A listening. You sit across from it, and like two strangers on opposite sides of a boat in a very calm storm, you simply wait. After a while, you start to talk. You're not sure why. You talk about your first night in the palace, how you couldn't sleep on the royal mattress because it felt like it was judging you. You talk about the journey to find the black-down goose, the vibrating feather, the cursed dreams, the victory you didn't want. You even talk about the scribe's poetry phase, the one with the rhyming couplets about sadness and geese, and all the while the pillow just sits there and listens. When you finish, you say, are you really alive? And you swear, no wind, no draft, no slate of linen. You see the pillow incline, just slightly, as if nodding. The next morning, you don't remember falling asleep. You only remember waking up with the pillow beside you on the floor like it tucked itself in near your feet. You don't feel scared, not even surprised, just understood. But the city is changing faster now. In the main square, citizens have begun building massive sleeping structures. Not homes, not temples, something in between. Giant cushions stitched into the shape of domes. Feather-filled tunnels you can crawl through and emerge whispering poetry. Hammocks that sway even without wind. They call them nestings. People take shifts lying in them, rotating like dream watchers. No one seems to mind. In fact, they're smiling more, eating less, speaking slower. Some barely speak at all. You attempt to meet with the Pharaoh, but his chamber is now entirely pillow. There is no door, just fabric. You call to him. A soft voice replies, I'm resting for everyone now. And then silence. Outside the palace, a messenger arrives from a distant province. He delivers a pillow, a simple one. Plain, beige, unassuming. But when you press your hand to it, a whisper spills into your ear like warm breath. The other cities have joined. You try to ask who sent it, but the messenger is already asleep on your doorstep, snoring gently, a smile on his face. That evening, Nebet gathers you, Amos, and the scribe. She places a map on the table. The dream index now spans the entire kingdom. Lines of rest are connecting across regions, patterns forming at the center of the web. The beeps. And you laugh nervously. I just wanted the Pharaoh to sleep. Nebet looks at you like you're a child who asked where the sun goes at night. The Pharaoh was the seed, she says. You are the root. I'm not a root, you reply. Not yet, says your pillow. It's sitting upright again, on the balcony, facing the stars, and humming. The humming continues through the night, low, melodic, and strangely steady, like it's coming from the walls or maybe the air itself. You sit upright in bed, wrapped in a thin linen sheet, eyes fixed on the pillow now perched on the balcony railing, completely still, humming in a tone that shouldn't be possible without lungs. You glance at the junior scribe, curled up on the rug like a small, contented cat. He's smiling in his sleep, occasionally murmuring phrases like feather equity and universal nap rights. You rise silently and step onto the balcony. The pillow does not acknowledge you, but you feel its presence. Not malevolent, not benevolent either. Just aware. Like the moon, or a teacher who's already graded your test and is waiting to see if you'll admit the mistake. Below, Thebes glows gently under the weight of its dreaming. You see the nestings spread like flowering fields of linen, clusters of people swaying, breathing together in soft waves. Entire districts now operate on sleep shift cycles. Shopkeepers greet you with closed eyes and perfectly timed yawns. Market stalls sell dream-weaving kits. One vendor boasts that his new goose down formula can produce dreams with scent and regret. The city is no longer running on productivity. It runs on rest. And you're no longer sure where you stand in all of this. You step back inside. The pillow hops down from the railing and nestles itself at the center of your bed. You approach it, sit on the edge. What are you becoming? You whisper. It doesn't answer, but in your mind, without words, you feel something slip in, a memory that isn't yours. You're floating in a chamber of fabric. The air is thick, but not suffocating. Around you, other people drift by, tethered to pillows like sea creatures anchored to coral. There is no ground, no ceiling, only rest. Only pause, and then a voice. We are not replacing action, we are restoring the balance. You have run for centuries, now you must lie down. You snap out of it, your breath catches. The pillow glows faintly for a moment like a candle about to make a suggestion, and then dims. You summon Nebet. She appears minutes later, carrying a dream compass, her eyes half closed as if she's already in a conversation with something you can't see. I saw it, you say. She nods. We all do, eventually. What is it? What are they? She pauses, thinks. They're not gods, she says slowly. They're not demons. They're consensus. You stare at her. She explains. For generations, people believed sleep was the interruption of life. Now we remember. It's the rhythm underneath it, the dream layer. Someone has learned how to speak through it with pillows. You glance at yours, now fully reclined, gently pulsing with that impossible hum. So what do they want? You ask. Nebet sighs. To complete the weaving, to stitch all dreamers together, to return to something older than kingdoms, older than memory. You pause, and they're doing this by reorganizing Bedtime. She nods. Amos bursts into the room, feathers in his hair, holding a scroll in one hand and a half-eaten fig in the other. Urgent update, he says, panting. One of the northern provinces has stopped talking. You frown. What do you mean? He unrolls the scroll. It's covered in soft ink markings, no letters, just curves and dot patterns, swirls. They all lie down at sundown, he says. I don't wake until sunrise, and when they do, they just smile and hum. You feel something in your chest. Not fear, not exactly. More like inevitability. That night, as you settle back into bed, your pillow whispers again, not in words, in feeling. Soon there will be no need to explain. Soon silence will be the language of the world. And as you drift off, you wonder if you are still dreaming your dreams, or if your dreams are now dreaming you. The next morning, you wake not to sunlight, not to the sound of sandals on stone or the scribe tripping over his own metaphors, but to stillness. The kind of stillness that doesn't come from quiet, but from collective surrender. Outside your chamber, Thebes has stopped moving. You sit up slowly. Your pillow, already upright, waits for you. It no longer hums. It simply exists, full of presence, as if it no longer needs to announce itself, as if it's passed into a higher stage of softness, like enlightenment, but fluffier. You step out onto the balcony and see them, rows of people across rooftops and courtyards, even floating gently on reed rafts in the Nile, all still, all resting, eyes closed, faces serene, breathing slow, and from every direction the same soft murmur, not from mouths but from within. We are near. The nestings have spread, overtaking shops, temples, schools. What used to be the marketplace is now a vast cushion-covered square where people lie side by side in silence, holding hands, holding dreams. Even the merchants who once argued over spice prices now recline in synchrony, smiling like they've remembered something too ancient to say aloud. You find Nebbit sitting cross-legged in the center of the royal garden, her head tilted toward the sky. They don't need our words anymore, she says as you approach. They've built their own vocabulary through sleep, through dreams, through the weight of rest pressed into every pillow. You ask if it's safe. She shrugs. Was being awake safe? Good point. Amos runs toward you from the eastern corridor, hair askew, holding a ceramic dish that once held olives but now holds a feather. Not just any feather. This one glows faintly blue at the tips and pulses with a rhythm unmistakably alive. Found it in the western wing, he says breathlessly. No bird, just the feather. Still warm. You take it from him. It's weightless and infinite all at once. The junior scribe appears behind you. He looks well rested in a way that feels suspicious. I dreamed we were all inside a pillow, he says, casually chewing a fig, but we weren't squished or anything. We were. Ideas, patterns, threads. Threads, you ask, he nods, like we weren't the sleepers anymore. We were the fabric. You look back down at the feather in your hand. The fabric. It's not a metaphor anymore. You hurry to the vault. The pillows await, arrayed on the shelves like sacred texts. The Reviri core still floats, now surrounded by others, new prototypes crafted during nights you don't remember. They pulse in unison, soft blue light, then purple, then white, a rhythm, a language. Tap, pause, pulse. You kneel before them, uncertain why, but it feels right, feels necessary. The vault lights dim, and in the dark you hear, not with your ears but with your mind, a tapestry unfolding. You see threads, not cotton, not wool, but people, dreamers, intertwined, flowing, weaving through cities, ideas, memories. You see Thebes not as buildings and streets but as a loom, and you, yes, you are the weaver who once thought you were just trying to help someone sleep. You thought it was about softness, but it's about connection, about surrendering the sharpness of waking thought to the roundness of shared rest, about remembering the ancient truth. Sleep is not the absence of life, it is the language beneath it. When you return to your room, your pillow is no longer alone. Another has appeared, slightly larger, darker, pulsing gently, in sync with your own breath. The integration has begun, and it's making room for two. By the 13th morning, the sun rises not with radiance, but with reverence. You feel it in your bones, an unspoken shift. The city isn't simply adapting to the dream state anymore. It's preparing for something, like a hush before a note, or the way the Nile stills before flood season. The bees has grown quiet, but not dull. Everything breathes. The streets are lined with woven mats, soft ramps replacing stairs, and walls now draped in layered linens that dampen every sound. The birds no longer caw or squawk, they coo. You swear even the breeze has learned to whisper. You walk through the city and see children playing in silence, bouncing on domed pillow mounds like soft hills. Their parents rest nearby, not asleep, but in a kind of wakeful dream. Half present, half inward. No one rushes, no one argues. Even time seems to have taken a nap. But the strangest thing, no one questions it anymore. Not even you. Your second pillow, the one that appeared 2 nights ago, is now a fixture. It's darker, yes. Denser. But peaceful. When you lie between the two, you feel like you're being held between opposites. Waking and sleeping, presence and surrender, self and thread. And you dream. Not like before. This is different. You're standing in a marsh, water warm around your ankles, steam rising from a still surface. In front of you, a bird. Not a goose, not a swan, something ancient, too large, wings heavy with time. It speaks, though not aloud. You have come far, soft seeker, but the feathers you gather now are not from birds. They are from people. You wake with the word marsh echoing in your mind. You dress, take the junior scribe, who now insists on being called Pillowborn, and Nebid, who brings her sleep flute. Amos arrives uninvited, already chewing dried mango and wearing goggles made from 2 buttons and string. You travel to the wetlands east of the city. The marshlands have always been quiet, but now they feel sentient. The fog rolls in like fabric. The reeds sway in rhythm, as if something beneath the water breathes slowly, deeply. You follow a winding path until you see them. Birds. But not normal ones. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Some sleep mid-step, others stand with wings outstretched, unmoving. A few float in the water like folded linen. Their feathers shimmer faintly, not white, not gray, dream-colored. And then one of them opens its eye and speaks, not aloud, not with words, with feeling. These are not birds. These are dreams that took form. You gave us structure. We give you silence. The junior scribe gasps. I knew it, he whispers. Feathers are memory. Amos leans over. That makes my allergy kind of spiritual now. You gather what you can, not plucking, no. The feathers offer themselves. You touch one and it lifts from the bird's body, floats into your hand, then folds into itself like a scroll written in warmth. By the time you return to Thebes, the sun is setting, but you see it now, more clearly than ever. Decker, the kingdom is becoming a pillow. Not metaphorically. Streets are softer, doors are rounder. Even the palace spires are being cushioned by tapestries that extend toward the sky, like sleepy towers that no longer want to stab the clouds. You return to your chambers. The second pillow has multiplied. There are 3 now, each slightly different. One is warm, one is cool. One hums low like a lullaby sung by the wind passing through reeds. You lie down, and as your head sinks in, the feathers inside shift. Not randomly, not mechanically, but like they know you, like they've been waiting. You close your eyes and dream of a great bird resting in a nest the size of Thebes. Its chest rises and falls, and you, tiny among its feathers, understand you are no longer a servant of sleep. You are a messenger of it. By now, your dreams arrive before your eyes even close. You lie down, and the world behind your eyelids opens not like a curtain, but like a soft door, silent, welcoming, infinite. You don't fall asleep anymore. You are invited. Tonight, as your head sinks into the 3rd pillow, you enter the dream already walking, barefoot. The ground is soft, not soil or stone, but something between water and memory. Around you, mist, gentle, familiar. Then a shape emerges ahead. A figure, feathers on their shoulders, linen robes, face obscured by a mask that looks carved from moonlight. They do not speak, but you know who they are. The collector. The one who first called you with the black pillow. The one who's been appearing at the edge of your dreams, always almost saying something. Now, finally, they raise their hand and you stop walking. A breeze stirs, not wind, not air, a memory. Yours, a moment long forgotten. That night in your youth when you slept outside the city, afraid, curled on a bundle of reeds. The moment your father covered you with his worn cloak and whispered, "You are safe now." The collector nods as if to say, "This is where it began." You wake before dawn. Your eyes open not with urgency, but with reverence. You sit up and find the 3 pillows stacked neatly beside your bed. Not where you left them, not how you left them. The fabric is different, softer, heavier, threaded now with a subtle pattern, spirals, lines, curves that look like writing. But when you try to read them, they vanish, as if only legible in dreams. You step outside. The city is glowing, not with fire or sun, but with a soft ambient shimmer, as if everything has absorbed light and is now returning it gently like a sigh. People walk slower now, even those awake seem half in dream. You pass a baker who kneads dough with closed eyes, a child floating in a hammock, then whispering to the sky, a soldier adjusting his helmet to double as a sleep mask. No one questions the shift anymore. No one resists it. You meet with Nebid in what used to be the Temple of Thoth. It's now the Archive of Dreams. Scrolls have been replaced by pillows, each one embroidered with symbols, each one dreamed by a different person, now holding their memories, their visions, their silent knowledge. Nebid places her hand on one labeled, "The Feather That Waited." She closes her eyes, breathes. She saw the collector too, she murmurs. You ask, "Who are they?" Nebid hesitates, then says, "They're not a person. They're a role. The one who gathers the fragments, who prepares the loom." She opens her eyes. and they've chosen you. You try to argue, but your pillow speaks inside your chest. You were never chosen. You were woven, thread by thread, dream by dream. The realization lands softly. You are not a hero. You are not a prophet. You are a needle, a channel for what's coming. That evening, you hold a gathering in the great square. Dozens arrive, then hundreds. No thrones, no speeches, just silence. You sit in a circle of cushions and gesture gently. People lie down. The city hums. And for the first time, a shared dream begins. Not a collection of stories, but a single vision. A nest so large it holds nations. A sky stitched with silk. A language made of sighs, and at its center, a soft, pulsing heart. Not a god, not a king, but a pillow. Simple, humble, complete. You wake hours later with tears in your eyes and down in your palms. The feathers did not come from birds. They came from people. Each act of surrender to sleep has left something behind. A softness, a story, a thread. And now the collector returns, not just in dreams, but in waking. You find them waiting in your room, their face still hidden. But this time they bow, and they leave a gift. The first piece of the universal quilt, woven with feathers, stitched with dreams. You hold it in your hands. It is impossibly light and unbearably heavy, because it's the beginning, and beginnings, as every dream knows, are sacred. You spend the rest of the day holding that piece of the quilt like it might dissolve if you blink too hard. It doesn't. In fact, the longer you hold it, the more real it feels, not just in your hands, but in your chest and your spine. You swear you can feel it whispering, not in words, but in weight. Not heavy, no, not physically, but consequential. Like you're not just holding fabric, you're holding a promise. The collector is long gone. You didn't see them leave. Maybe they never walked out at all, just folded into the seams of reality like a corner turned down in a well-loved book. The piece itself is small, a square, maybe the size of your hand, feather stuffed, silk covered, embroidered with the faintest gold thread in a spiral that never quite ends. When you tilt it, you can hear something. Not voices, not music, but memories. Someone laughing, someone breathing deeply, someone whispering just 5 more minutes. You take it to Nibet. She doesn't speak for a long time after she holds it, just presses it to her heart and closes her eyes. This is a beginning, she says, but it also feels like the middle of something ancient. Amos bursts in moments later, feathers stuck in his hair, sandals mismatched. The southern outposts have reported dream convergence, he says breathlessly. 4 towns, all different languages, shared the same vision last night. They all dreamed of the same thing. You stare at him. What do they see? A pillow, he says, of course, but huge, like mountain-sized, suspended in the sky. Beneath it, thousands of people lying in a spiral. Your chest tightens. It matches the pattern on the quilt square. You return to the vault, but the vault has changed. It's bigger. No one expanded it. No one built anything. It just grew. Inside, the pillows are no longer resting on shelves. They're floating, slowly orbiting each other like moons around a quiet planet. You feel your breath catch. The Reviri core glows steadily near the center, now encased in a cradle of woven light. You have no idea how light can be woven, but there it is. Your original pillow, the one from the beginning, is gone. You find a new one in its place. It's darker now, heavier, not ominous, just matured, like it's aged, like the way wine or memory does. Its surface embroidered with new patterns, curves, spirals, and tiny, perfect stitches that look suspiciously like you. When you reach for it, it drifts toward you. When you hold it, you feel everything. The old fears, the sleepless nights, the laughter of the feather team, the first black pillow, the snoring relic, the field of geese, the marsh, the collector. It's not just a pillow anymore. It's a record, a memory. And so, you realize you're not collecting feathers, you're collecting histories. Dreams once scattered across time and sleep, now gathering here, piece by piece, into something far larger than you ever imagined. That night, you lie down with the new pillow beneath your head and the quilt square on your chest. You drift almost instantly. In your dream, you float above Thebes. But Thebes is not Thebes anymore. The streets are woven. The buildings, layered linen, soft and tall. The people don't walk, they glide. They float, they rest in midair, breathing in sync, and in the center, a towering figure. Not the Pharaoh, not a god, a being made entirely of fabric and feathers, stitched with glowing thread, its arms open wide, not in thread, but in invitation. You hear its voice, not through your ears, but through the way your pillow exhales. You are ready. You have remembered. Now, help others lie down. You wake with a single thought woven into your heartbeat. Comfort is not the end of struggle. It is how we survive it. When you open your eyes, the second piece of the quilt is already waiting beside your bed. You don't ask where the second piece came from. Not because you aren't curious, but because asking would be like interrupting a lullaby halfway through the last note. Some truths arrive better in silence. This square is different from the first. Lighter, cooler to the touch. The embroidery here isn't a spiral, it's a wave, sewn in thread so pale it vanishes unless you tilt it just right. When you do, you see the wave rise and crest across the fabric like breath turned into motion. Inside it, tiny symbols ripple through the pattern. Eyes closed, hands open, feathers drifting upward. When you place the square beside the first, they shift slightly, pulling closer to each other. Not magnetically, not tensionally. You understand immediately, these pieces aren't just part of a quilt. They are calling to each other. You take them to Nibbit. She smiles softly, her hands trembling just enough to betray her awe. The second dreaming has begun, she says. You ask what that means. She sits you down and speaks in that measured tone she uses when she knows the truth might rearrange the furniture of your soul. The first dreaming, she says, was ours, the dreaming of individuals, one mind at a time, feather by feather. But this is different. She presses the two quilt pieces to her chest. This is dreaming together. Amosu rushes in again, panting as usual, this time with ink-stained palms and a crumpled parchment half unrolled in his hands. It's happening. He blurts out, the quilts are spreading. You blink. Quilts. Yes, across the regions. People are waking up with squares in their beds or tucked beneath their feet or sewn into their sleeves. They don't know how they got them, but they fit perfectly. He pauses, then adds, some of them glow. You gather your things, your 3 pillows, your 2 squares, and you leave the palace. For the first time in moons, you walk among the outer villages of Thebes. The roads are different now, softer, coated in layers of crushed reed and woven scrap linen. Even the breeze carries a hush like the world is speaking around you, rather than to you. And everywhere you go, you see the same signs. Children sleeping in circles, villagers humming in their rest, small pillow altars placed in fields and boats at the base of trees, and the squares tucked into baskets tied to staffs, folded like amulets, never bought, never sold, only given. You reach one village where an elder beckons you inside her home. She doesn't speak, she just places her square in your hands. It's warm, deep red, embroidered with a flame that flickers even without wind. I dreamed of fire, she says quietly, but it didn't burn. It warmed, it reminded. Reminded of what? You ask. She smiles, eyes glistening. That we've been awake too long. You walk out with the 3rd square in your satchel. 3 now. Spiral, wave, flame. The moment you step back into the open air, your pillow shifts in your arms. You look down, it is glowing faintly, no longer just a place to rest your head, but now a compass, and it's pointing somewhere. You follow it, through hills, past reeds, through dusk and faint starlight, until you reach a place you've only seen in dreams. A cliff overlooking a wide, still marsh, and standing there, waiting, is the collector. This time, they remove the mask, and you see yourself. Older, softer, eyes full of peace. They hand you the 4th square, feathers embroidered in the shape of open wings. You both say nothing, because nothing needs saying. As the stars bloom above you, you sit together and begin to stitch. Not a quilt yet, just the beginning, but your fingers already know the pattern. Shh. The 4th square is stitched with wings so wide they stretch beyond the edges of the fabric. You trace them slowly with your fingers that night, seated beside your other self, the collector, who remains silent, present, and profoundly still. You don't ask how they became you, or when. You already know the answer wouldn't arrive in words, it would arrive in texture. You lay out the 4 squares before you. Spiral, wave, flame, wings. Each carries a temperature, a rhythm, a memory. The collector, your future, your echo, your thread-woven twin, hands you a needle wrapped in silver thread. You don't remember learning to sew, and yet your hands move without hesitation. The stitching begins, not fast, not perfect, but honest. Each connection hums. A quiet, almost imperceptible note like the way silence deepens just before rain. As you sow, the sky above you begins to change. The stars, which have always seemed scattered, begin to gather, gently pulling toward each other, realigning, not into constellations but into patterns that match the stitching you're making below. The quilt is not just mapping dreams, it's mirroring the sky. Or perhaps it's always been the other way around. By dawn, the four pieces are one. You hold the newly stitched quilt segment in your lap, and for a brief moment, you swear the wings on the fabric lift slightly as if stretching. The collector is gone, not vanished, not disappeared. Just returned to wherever memory rests when it's finished speaking. You return to Thebes, but Thebes has changed again, not in structure, in tone. The hush has deepened, not into silence, but into reverence. People greet you without words. They nod, they breathe in rhythm with you, they show you their squares, tied to staffs, worn as cloaks, pressed into the foreheads of sleeping children. And everywhere you feel the pattern growing. At the edge of the city, the vault is no longer a room, it is a garden. Pillows now grow from the soil, budding like flowers, sprouting feathers like petals. Some are wide and flat like lily pads, others are shaped like hands or hearts or moons. The reverie core floats above them all, pulsing softly in the air, tethered to nothing but memory. You kneel and place your stitched piece into the ground. It does not lie flat, it sinks gently, folding into the garden like a seed finally home. Nebet arrives, her eyes ringed with sleep, her shoulders wrapped in 7 dream squares of her own. She kneels beside you. This is what they meant, she whispers. This is what it meant to integrate. You nod. You no longer ask who they are, because you feel them now, in the soft pull of every breath, the weightless press of every pillow, the dreams that don't belong to you but arrive anyway. The dream index now spans every province. The quilt has no center, only threads. And now it begins to breathe. That night you lie down in the pillow garden with hundreds of others. The stars above rearrange once more, and you dream not of birds, not of feathers, but of air. Air that carries memory. Air that remembers you. Air that sings when it passes through threads woven by hands that believe in softness. You wake with another square resting gently on your chest. This one has no embroidery, just a single word stitched into the center in golden thread. Listen. And when you press your ear to it, you do. The square whispers, not in sound but in rhythm. A breath in, a pause. A breath out, a brother pause. Another pause, not yours. The cities, the quilts. You hold the square closed, the one with the word listen, stitched in gold that shifts like sunlight through linen. It doesn't vibrate or glow. It simply is, patient, soft, expectant. And when you press your ear to it, you don't hear stories, you don't hear dreams. You hear presence. You walk through Thebes with the square folded over your heart. Everywhere, things are quieter, not from silence, but from fullness, from trust. The baker no longer calls out his prices. He simply holds up a roll, and people nod. The weavers no longer argue over patterns. They move together like fingers threading a needle. Even the animals have stilled, their movements smooth, as if sleep has become a new kind of gravity. You pass the central nesting, a great open-air platform where dozens now rest together daily, in cycles. Pillows piled into soft mounds, squares of every shade and pattern tucked under arms, beneath heads, woven into robes. You see a child pressing their ear to a square just like yours, and smiling. You return to the pillow garden. The reverie core no longer floats. It hovers, held midair not by magic, but by consensus, as if the dreams of thousands now support its weight without question. And beneath it, something new is growing. A large quilt. You didn't put it there. No one did. It's not stitched by hand, not assembled. It's appearing by pieces if the earth remembers what sleep forgets. Squares you recognize, ones you don't. Spiral, flame, wave, wings. Listen. A ring has begun to form, a circle of softness widening with every new rest. Nebet meets you there. She kneels and presses her palm to the soil. They're almost here, she says. Who? You ask. She lifts her eyes, calm and clear. Everyone else. That evening, a wind rolls in from the outer dunes. Not harsh, not hot. It smells of pressed linen and the ghost of bedtime stories. You raise your eyes and see them. Travelers. Dozens, then hundreds. Walking slowly toward Thebes, not with urgency, not with desperation, with intention. They come with empty hands, open hearts, and the same look you've seen in your own reflection lately. Wonder laced with knowing. They've heard, not through messengers, not through scrolls, but through dreams. Dreams that told them where to go. Dreams that gave them names for things they'd never touched. Dreams that whispered, "You're not alone anymore." You meet them at the gate. You don't speak. You offer a square. The first traveler, a woman with calloused hands and a weather-worn cloak, presses it to her chest, then presses her forehead to yours. The message is shared, not as words, as rest, as permission. You guide them into the city. The bees makes room, of course it does. The nestings expand, the pillow garden swells, people curl together like sentences in a shared poem, and the city begins to hum again, deeper now, broader. The wind carries it beyond the dunes. You lie down that night among the new arrivals, quilt square tucked beneath your shoulder. You dream of a room with no ceiling, no floor, just air, and a single enormous pillow at the center. It rises, and with it everyone rises, not from sleep, but from separation. You wake to find the seventh square beside you. It bears no image, only texture. When you touch it, it matches your breath, and when others touch it too, it matches theirs. You place it beside the others. They adjust themselves, nestling closer. The quilt is learning, and so are you. By the 19th morning, the quilt no longer feels like an object you're building. It feels like a being you're helping remember itself. It grows without sewing, without thread, only proximity. When you place the new squares beside the others, they shift to welcome the newcomer, like old friends returning from long dreams. The seventh square, the one that breathes in sync with each person who touches it, now lies at the center of the others. Not because you placed it there, it chose. You wake early before the city stirs and wander into the nesting fields, what used to be the central market but is now layered with thick woven mats and spiral pillow paths. There you find the newest arrivals, not people. Creatures, birds, foxes, dogs, a pair of wide-eyed ibises all lying together beneath the fig trees, heads resting on cushions, bodies curled into the rhythm of shared rest. They aren't tamed, they aren't trained. They simply belong now. Sleep has become a language even the animals understand. Amos joins you later, his eyes puffy but peaceful. He hands you a scroll with shaking hands. Someone dreamed this, he says. You unroll it. It's not writing, it's a map, drawn in gold ink that fades and reappears like breath on glass. The lines twist into patterns you recognize, spiral, wave, flame, wings, but now they form something more. A path, a looping, layered trail that circles the garden, loops through the nestings, reaches out toward the marsh, then curls inward again like a snail or a coiled thread. At the very center, a circle of light. Nebbit arrives behind you, already nodding. We're being asked to walk it, she says. A ritual, you ask. She shakes her head. A reminder that this place is not just a home. It's a vessel, and now we shape it with movement. That evening at dusk, the city walks, thousands, silently. Slowly, not in a parade, not in a march, in flow. Each person holds a pillow. Some carry quilt squares like lanterns. Others have wrapped themselves in long feathered shawls that ripple with every step. You walk the path laid in the dream map, each footstep pressing gently into the linen-lined earth. Even the animals follow, tails low, eyes half closed. As you move, the air begins to change. It thickens, not in heaviness, but in intent. You feel each breath linked to another. Each blink, each heartbeat settling into alignment. And at the center of the spiral path, when the very last walker arrives, Thebes exhales and glows, not brightly, not loudly, just enough. A faint golden shimmer radiates across the city. The pillows vibrate, the quilt pieces warm, the reverie cord lifts again slowly like it's listening. You return to the vault garden, and its heart something waits for you. An eighth square. This one is completely smooth, no thread, no image, but when you run your fingers across its surface, you feel a heartbeat. Not yours, not anyone's. Something older, something quiet, something that began long before you ever lay your first feather into fabric. You carry the eighth square back to your quarters. Your pillow is already waiting for it, upright, watching. You place the square beside it and the pillow hums, not a lullaby this time. A chord, low, layered, like 1,000 dreams tuning to the same note. You lie down, and in your dream, you're not in Thebes, you're in the quilt itself. walking across vast fields of stitched feathers and linen valleys. All around you, other dreamers walk beside you. Some from this life, some you've never met. They don't speak, they rest. And the quilt stretches onward past the horizon, soft and endless, waiting to wrap the whole world. You wake with tears in your eyes and a single phrase pulsing through your chest like breath. We do not conquer sleep, we return to it. The 20th morning arrives slowly, like a blanket being pulled gently over the sky. You wake before the sun fully rises, but the air is already warm with breath. Not just yours, but the shared rhythm of the city. It hums in the fabric of the walls, in the quiet shuffle of footsteps, in the way even the birds flap their wings like they're trying not to wake someone else. You sit up and find your pillow watching you again. Silent, expectant, no longer just an object, but a companion. The 8th square still rests beside it, pulsing faintly, the heartbeat inside it now completely synchronized with your own. Today you feel it, the shift. Not in the city, not in the pillow, but in yourself. Something has settled. Or perhaps something that was tight for too long has finally softened. You dress slowly in the new ceremonial linens gifted by the marsh nesting. They're impossibly light, stitched with feathers that only appear under moonlight. When you walk, the fabric doesn't rustle. It shh. Outside, the city is already awake, but no one speaks. They don't need to. Instead, people gather quietly around the pillow garden, forming circles within circles, each person holding a square or cushion, or simply presence. A wind moves through the crowd, not cold or sharp, but warm and slow, like the hush between turning a page and reading the next sentence. Nabbit approaches you with a bowl of warm water and a folded cloth. She gently washes your hands, then your temples, then presses a kiss to your forehead. Today is the seaming, she says softly. The what, you ask? She smiles, her eyes damp. Today is when the quilt begins stitching itself. You don't speak for a moment. How? She looks up at the reverie core, now hovering high above the pillow garden, spinning gently like a moon that has forgotten how to orbit and simply wants to be held. It's waited for us to be still, she replies. Now it remembers what it's for. And then it happens. The air tightens, not with fear, but with focus. One by one, the quilt squares that have been scattered throughout the city begin to rise. Slowly, effortlessly, tenderly. Some lift from windowsills, others uncurl from beneath cradles. One floats gently out of a soup pot in the communal kitchen, perfectly clean. They drift toward the center garden, toward the reverie core, and begin to connect. No hands guide them, no thread binds them. They stitch with memory. Each one finds its place as if drawn by instinct. Spiral to wave, wave to flame, flame to wings, wings to listen, listen to breath. Each seam that joins them glows faintly for just a moment, then settles like the last note of a lullaby. And then you realize your quilt pieces are not yours anymore. They've left your hands, your chambers, even your dreams. They've become part of something larger, something living. You step forward, past the quiet crowd, toward the growing shape in the center of the city. It's not a blanket, it's not even a quilt anymore. It's a field, a vast, soft landscape of joined dreams, stitched by rest and remembrance, big enough for everyone. You kneel, you press your hand into the fabric. It welcomes you like an old friend who's been holding your seat in silence, and then you hear it, deep beneath the weave, beneath the feathers, beneath the linen and love. A voice familiar and new, saying, "We never wanted worship, we wanted to be remembered. You have done that, now lie down, we'll take it from here." And so you do. You lie at the edge of the quilt, your pillow beneath your head, your breath sinking with the thousands around you. The sky dims, but not into night, into rest. And Thebes, for the first time in its long, busy life, falls completely asleep, not because it is tired, but because it is whole. You do not dream that night, not because there is no dream to have, but because, for the first time, the dream is having you. It wraps around you like fabric worn by time itself, gentle, weightless, eternal. You drift not into vision, but into belonging. No plot, no characters, no symbols to decode, just the feeling of every thread, every breath, every heartbeat, agreeing. When you open your eyes, the sky above Thebes is still dim, not with clouds, but with a hush so deep it's turned the morning light into silk. You sit up slowly, unsure how much time has passed. Around you, people are waking together, not in a rush, not in panic, just rising. like fog lifting, like thought returning. The quilt remains. It now stretches far beyond the garden, flowing through streets, up steps, across bridges, into homes. No one dares step on it, not out of reverence, but out of recognition, as if the fabric is made of someone you know, someone you love. The reverie core still floats above the center, slowly rotating, glowing just faintly. You can barely hear its hum anymore. Maybe it doesn't need to hum now. Maybe the world has started humming for it. Nebbit appears at your side, her head still wrapped in a night scarf embroidered with symbols that now appear to move. You realize they are dream signatures, tiny records of the people who rested near her in the night. "We're ready," she says. "For what?" You ask, though the question feels slow, almost unnecessary. She tilts her head. "For the deep dream." You hesitate. "Wasn't that last night?" She smiles. "No, that was the preface." You feel it before you hear it, a low pressure in the air, not heavy, not dangerous, just inevitable. The quilt shifts, not all at once, gently, like breath turning in its sleep, and from the edges of the city people begin to arrive again, not travelers this time, not messengers, returners. People who once left Thebes, people who hadn't dreamed in years. They come barefoot, no bags, no questions. They come because something whispered, "Come home. We're ready now." You recognize some. A merchant who fled during the feather rationing, a scribe who once declared dreams public distractions, a cousin you hadn't seen since the river ran dry that one summer. They kneel beside the quilt and it makes room. The quilt stretches outward, not to cover them, but to include them. You and Nebbit walk to the center. There, the reverie core glows brighter now, not radiant but certain. Beside it, a new object has appeared. You know immediately, the ninth square. You lift it. It is blank, utterly. No stitching, no color, no heartbeat, just silence. You press your palm to it, and in your mind a message unfurls like folded linen. This one is not made from feathers, it is made from your silence, your stillness, your final agreement. You understand this is the last piece that must be placed before the deep dream begins. Not the end of consciousness, not death, but the return to the quiet beneath all noise, the rest beneath all movement. The origin that came before waking ever existed. You press the ninth square into the quilt. It fuses not with a seam, but with a breath. And then the reverie core begins to lower, slowly, gracefully, until it touches the center of the quilt for the first time. It does not disappear, it does not break, it sleeps. And the entire quilt pulses once like a sigh. All around you the city lies down. You lie down too. No one speaks, no one counts down, no one leads. You just rest. Then Thebes slips effortlessly into the deep dream. This time there is no waking. Not yet, not for a while, because this sleep is not rest. It is returning. There is no dream, not in the way you once understood it. No symbols, no strange rooms or talking birds, no puzzles to untangle, only texture. The deep dream is not a place, it's a presence, thick and endless, without edges or sound. You don't float in it, you don't walk through it, you dissolve into it, and still, somehow, you remain yourself. You are breath, stretched across a field of sleeping bodies, and still, you are the gentle pressure beneath someone's pillow, the cool spot found in linen turned over at midnight, the half second before someone exhales into sleep, and you are there. This is not metaphor, this is the new reality. When you finally return to waking, if it even is waking, you open your eyes not in your chamber, not in your bed, but in a place beneath the quilt. Literally, beneath. You sit up slowly. Around you, a soft tunnel of fabric, layers of stitched feathers and linen above, glowing gently. Beneath, a cushion of silence so complete you feel no need to speak. Others begin to rise too, dozens, hundreds. All beneath the great city quilt which now stretches like a canopy across Thebes. The sky is hidden by it, but no one seems concerned. The quilt is sky enough. Nebbit sits across from you, half covered in patterned fabric, her fingers idly tracing the stitchwork. We were inside it the whole time. She murmurs. You nod. Of course you were. Above you hear nothing, not because there is no sound, but because nothing above is moving anymore. You crawl forward with the others toward a slit in the fabric, a seam that gently parts not by force but by intention. You push through and emerge not into Thebes, but into something else. The landscape is unfamiliar, still soft, still quiet, but different. Gone are the walls, the buildings, the rivers. Instead, There are quilts stretched between trees, between hills, between people, curled into pairs or clusters, sleeping openly beneath a sky no longer stitched but woven entirely from stars. You look upward and you realize the sky is now quilt, a great patchwork of dreaming minds sewn together across time and memory, and you're beneath it, finally seeing the pattern from below. You walk through the dream fields. Pillows bloom from the ground like flowers. The air smells like sleep in its purest form, pre-sorrow, pre-language. The others walk with you. Some were once rulers, some were children, some never spoke in waking life, but now they rest together, whole and heard. At the center of this new land lies a basin of stillness, an open space where the fabric folds inward like a bowl. There you see it, the final pillow. Not black, not white, but woven from every color of dream. Stuffed with every sigh ever released during rest. Covered in the faded fingerprints of those who once thought rest was weakness. It pulses once, then again, and when you kneel beside it, you finally understand this was never about softness, it was about acceptance. Sleep was the beginning. Dreams were the bridge. But this shared, woven reality, this is arrival. The pillow does not speak, it does not glow, it does not sing, but somehow, in the stillness between heartbeats, it offers you a truth. You've done enough, you are enough. Now let yourself be held. You lie down beside it, and for the first time since the Pharaoh tossed and turned in his golden bed, you feel the world exhale, and stay there. You don't sleep, because sleep is no longer a threshold. You don't wake, because waking is no longer a destination. You simply are. Curled beside the final pillow, your body feels both impossibly light and deeply grounded, as if the earth itself is cupping your form with infinite gentleness. Around you, others have joined, not in rows, not in order, but in natural spirals, like feathers settling after a soft wind. The quilt sky above remains constant. It shimmers faintly in places, ripples of memory passing through the stars like echoes of lullabies sung long ago. You're not dreaming, you're woven. Nebet lies nearby, her breathing slow, face turned toward the sky. You hear her whisper once, almost too soft to notice. Is this forever? You turn toward her, and somehow without speaking, you reply only as long as it's needed. Because that's what this is, isn't it? Not escape, not erasure, but a kind of pause, a global, communal inhalation, a world that finally allowed itself to exhale and now simply rests in the middle. Around the basin, new structures begin to form, not built but gathered. Nestings of thought and softness, shelters made of breath and kindness, every piece grown from the shared will to protect this stillness. You explore barefoot with no urgency, the ground hums underfoot, not mechanical. Musical, you press your hand to the soil and feel it throb gently, slow rhythms, heartbeats stitched together into earth itself. Someone places a quilt square in your hands. You don't know them, they don't know you, and it doesn't matter. You unfold it. This one bears no pattern, no embroidery, only the scent of jasmine and distant fire. You press it to your chest and it doesn't whisper, it remembers. A single moment, a younger version of you, standing in the palace corridor, feathers stuck to your heel, wondering why the Pharaoh ever cared about pillows in the first place. And now you understand, because pillows were never the point. Comfort was never the point. Connection was, and what's softer than belonging? What's deeper than being held without needing to explain why? You sit beside the final pillow and see others approaching from beyond the quilt sky horizon. Not from Thebes, not from your world, from elsewhere. Sleepers who heard the dream not in words or symbols, but in longing, in exhaustion, in the hope that rest might be more than pause, it might be place. They come barefoot, eyes wide, hands empty but hearts full, and the quilt makes room. Of course it does. You lie back. You close your eyes again, not because you must, but because now you want to listen deeper, beneath memory, beneath silence, beneath even the breath. And there, in the soft dark, you hear it. A voice not from without, but from within the fabric of everything. Thank you for laying down first. Now others will follow, and they will not be alone. You smile, not as a leader, not as a dreamer, just as a thread, a single thread in the great woven hush, and this time, when the sleep comes, it doesn't arrive. It is. Time no longer passes here. It settles like dust on old scrolls, like feathers in still air. You no longer track days or nights, only the deepening of quiet. Within the basin, the final pillow rests unchanged, but not unmoved, because you've learned that even pillows, when honored long enough, can evolve. The once soft shape now carries a gentle glow, not from within, but from those around it. It reflects every person who has lain beside it, every breath offered, every memory surrendered like thread. Its surface holds the shape of faces, smiles, sighs, all without weight. Today, something changes, not loud, not sudden, but clear. You feel it before you see it. A shift in the hush, a slow parting of thought. The quilt sky above ripples gently as though someone far off has turned a page, and in that moment you sense them. Not walkers, not travelers, not even dreamers. The carriers. They come not from the landers, but from sleep itself. From the far edge of dreams where stories fold inward and form new beginnings. They do not speak. They arrive wrapped in layers of woven memory. Their eyes carry no color, only reflection. Their hands empty, always empty, because their purpose is not to take, but to lift. The first carrier approaches the final pillow. Everyone watches, but no one interrupts. The carrier kneels, gently places their palm to the center of the pillow, and for a breathless moment the entire basin stills. No wind, no sigh, even the quilt sky above halts its shimmer. And then, a sound, so soft you nearly miss it, a stitch, just one. Thread passing through feather and dream, the pillow shudders, not in pain, not in fear, in welcome. The carrier rises, another steps forward, another stitch, then another. You realize slowly that they are binding the final pillow to the quilt, not as an object of worship, but as a keystone, a truth that no longer needs to be held separate. And when the last carrier finishes, they do not bow, they do not speak. They simply step back and the pillow dissolves, not into ash, not into light, it disperses, becoming vapor, warmth, mist. It rises into the air like breath that's been holding itself for lifetimes. The place where the pillow once lay is now a hollow, cradled in the earth. No sadness, no loss, only an invitation. Rest is no longer something you carry, it is something you become. You kneel at the hollow, press your hand into it. It's warm and it beats. Not like a heart, but like a rhythm waiting to be danced. Around you, the sleepers begin to rise, not to leave, not to end, but to continue. To walk, not as tired beings needing escape, but as woven ones made whole by surrender. You rise with them, your pillow gone. You no longer need it, because now, everywhere you go, the ground beneath you softens, the sky above listens, and the breath within every moment tells you, you are the pillow now. And maybe that's what this was all for. Not softness, not dreams, but to become the place where others can rest. You are the pillow now. The words settle into you, not like revelation, but like recognition. The quiet kind that doesn't change your face, only the way your bones hold your breath. Around you, the basin stirs, not with noise, but with readiness. People are waking into something else, not into action, not into urgency, but into intention. Movements now seem chosen, not driven. Every step is a gift, every silence a sentence. You watch as those who once came to lie down now rise and begin to walk again. But this time, they carry no burden, only presence. Some take pieces of the great quilt, not by tearing, but by invitation. The fabric releases willingly, reshaping itself into cloaks, shawls, banners. Even feathers split away gently and spiral toward waiting hands, like messages passed between old friends who never needed to speak. Nebbit stands near the hollow where the final pillow once lay. She turns to you, her hands open, and smiles. You feel it too, she says. You nod. It's beginning again, isn't it? No, she replies. It's beginning for the first time. And that's when you see them, the first group, leaving. Walking toward the edge of this resting world, toward the far hills where the horizon ripples like linen in a slow wind. Not fleeing, not escaping, carrying. You walk among them briefly. They nod to you, not in reverence, but in kinship. They are weavers now, messengers of rest, bearers of quiet. They do not speak loudly, they do not need to. Each carries a square of the quilt, stitched with their memories, softened by their sleep. And somewhere in their eyes you see the reflection of all who have ever laid their head down in longing. Before they go, a few press their quilt squares to yours, and the pieces recognize each other, fuse gently, then separate again, transformed. Each one now carries a version of the dream that began in Thebes, but made new, refracted through who they've become. You return to the basin. The hollow still pulses. A new group lies down in its warmth, not to begin the deep dream again, but to add to it, to enrich it, because now the dream is no longer something that visits, it is habitat. And you walk the edge of the great nesting fields, where pillows still bloom from the ground and the sky quilt shifts in soft colors above. A child runs past you, laughing in sleep. They chase a feather that drifts like memory. You follow only a few steps, then stop. The feather lands in your hand, and on it, embroidered impossibly small, are the words, "There is more." You close your fingers around it. Yes, of course there is, because rest was never the end of the story. It was always the first sentence of the next one. You stand beneath the quilt sky, feather in hand, the words, "There is more," still echoing not in your ears, but in the soft chambers of your chest. You look up, the sky has changed again. The threads above shimmer subtly, not as starlight now, but as movement. Slow waves flowing from one end of the horizon to the other. It's not light that moves, it's intent. Dreamers across the quilted world are not only resting now, they are responding. Nebbit joins you, walking without sound, the soles of her feet already shaped by the softened land. She watches the waves in the sky and then gently places her hand on your shoulder. "They're dreaming outward," she says. You blink. "What does that mean?" She smiles, not knowingly but warmly, that the dream no longer ends here. And then the sky above Thebes opens, not splits, not cracks, but unfolds. A soft, spiraling aperture appears in the center of the quilt sky, like the middle of a sleeping eye gently blinking awake. Through it, you don't see stars or sun, you see threads. Endless threads, golden, silver, cold, dark, ember red, some so fine they shimmer like mist stretching out into everywhere, linking your resting world to others. Other dreamscapes, other lands, other sleepers, other beginnings. And you finally understand, this was never the end of a single story. This was the bridge. The quilt was not built to cover Thebes. It was built to connect it, to thread every dreamer, every quiet soul, every weary wanderer from every corner of existence, not into sameness, but into belonging. Your knees fold beneath you, not from awe, but from the gentle gravity of understanding. You kneel at the edge of the unfolding and press the feather, your feather, into the earth. It sinks, and from that spot, a single bloom rises, a flower made not of petals, but of fabric, stitched, feathered. Breathing, others begin to do the same. Quilt pieces, pillow threads, fragments of dreams, placed like seeds, and the earth accepts them, welcomes them, grows them. You and Nebbit walk together now, past fields of memory-sown flowers, each one pulsing with the resting hum of 1,000 past nights. She tells you of a child who dreamed an island of silence that now actually exists. Of a shepherd who fell asleep beneath a sky like this and woke up surrounded by sheep who never made another sound, but who always seemed to understand. The dream is moving on, not away. Through, you arrive at the edge of the world again, the soft line where Thebes once ended. But now, the quilt has woven a path forward, not paved, not carved, not marked with torches or signs, just softness continuing into the unknown. More dreamers are gathering. Some lie down for the first time, others rise, finally ready to carry peace to the restless places. No one is forced, but all are called. And so are you. You press your hand to your chest and feel the rhythm again. It is not your heartbeat, it is the dreams, and it's inviting you onward. Because there is more, and now you're ready to walk it. You step forward, not with urgency, not with certainty, but with the quiet rhythm of someone who understands that the ground beneath them is woven from welcome. Each footfall is met with softness, not to slow you, but to hold you. The path ahead stretches beyond the edge of the basin, beyond what was once Thebes, into a new terrain that feels untouched and yet entirely familiar. It is not a road, it is a ribbon, unspooling with each step. Nebbit walks beside you, her cloak now layered with squares gifted by strangers who never spoke her name, but dreamed beside her all the same. Amos joins you too, his usual jitteriness replaced by something steadier. He no longer carries scrolls, only a small pillow tucked under one arm, worn at the corners. It seems hand-stitched by people whose names he never learned. You pass through the outermost nestings. People bow, not low, not formal, just deep enough to say, "I see you and I've rested where you rested." Some offer squares, others simply offer eye contact, and then they too begin to walk. You aren't alone, you never were. You realize now, this isn't a procession, it's a thread line. One that's been pulled gently through centuries of longing, tugged softly through tired minds, slowly gathered at the hem of history. And now it stretches forward not to an ending, but to a weaving yet to come. As you walk, the world around you shifts. The hills are lined with quilts fluttering like flags, their corners stitched with lullabies from languages long forgotten. Trees bloom with feathers instead of leaves. Birds perch silently on the shoulders of travelers, their eyes half closed in a peace so deep it doesn't need permission. Eventually, you arrive at the first bend in the path. There, resting on a platform of cushions shaped like a spiral, is a single figure. They're older than age, but not weak. Wrapped in linen, eyes closed, their chest rises and falls in perfect rhythm with the path's hum. And beside them, a loom. Not a machine, not wood and nail, but a cradle of wind and fabric, turning with the slow grace of the world, exhaling. The figure opens one eye. It gleams like dusk on still water. You've come to continue, they say. You nod. You don't need to ask what. The loom waits. Nebbit steps forward first. She removes a square from her cloak, one stitched with a dream she never shared aloud, and offers it. The loom accepts it. It doesn't pull or absorb. It welcomes. The square floats upward, becomes thread, and begins to weave itself through the larger tapestry stretched between two distant stones. Amos follows, laying down the pillow he's carried since the earliest days. He presses his cheek to it one last time, just for a moment, and then hands it to the wind. It unravels gently, becomes ribbon, joins the threadwork. You reach into your satchel and find a piece you didn't place there. A square, blank, but warm. On the back, a tiny stitched phrase. For the ones who arrive after us, you smile and feed it to the loom. The fabric glows slightly where it joins the others, not because it's brighter, but because it knows it's needed. You stay at the loom until sunset. As the sky darkens, more come, some from your world. Some who never knew Thebes, some who speak with their eyes closed and their hands open. Each one offers something, a dream, a feather, a silence they've carried too long, and the loom accepts it all, weaving onward, wider, deeper, homeward. You lie down beneath the loom that night, not to rest, but to become part of its thread. And as your eyes close, you whisper into the quiet, "This is not the end. This is the next softness." By the 28th morning, the loom no longer needs to be watched. It weaves itself now, not in haste, not endlessly, but with the rhythm of memory, of breath, of people who finally remembered how to lay down without fear. You wake beneath its hum, head resting on moss that has softened overnight into a kind of natural pillow. Part earth, part memory, part something the world forgot how to grow until people began dreaming beside it again. The square you offered is now just a thread in the tapestry. You cannot see where, and that's the point. Everything offered in softness belongs equally. The camp around the loom has changed. Not larger, not smaller. Clearer. Paths are beginning to form, not walked into being, but understood into shape. Trails lined with half-slept dreams and careful footprints. People wander these paths carrying stories not as burdens, but as bundles wrapped in linen. Occasionally, they pause, pass them to someone else, and keep walking. Lighter. Your eyes stretch and meet Nebbit at the edge of the hill. She doesn't say anything right away, just hands you a folded square of pale indigo. You unfold it slowly. It's stitched with an image. A spiral that turns outward, not inward. Around it, feathers drifting away in every direction. Beneath it, 5 simple words. It's time to give it away. You turn to her. She's already nodding. Everything we've gathered, if she says, was never meant to stay here. Not forever. You don't ask where it should go. You already know. That afternoon, you gather the people who are ready. Not many, just enough. Each of them has dreamed this step. Each has carried something worth releasing. Each is ready to carry what comes next. Amos arrives last, dragging a cart filled with old pillows. None of them match. One is clearly leaking feathers. He grins sheepishly. They've waited long enough. You nod. Together, the group walks to the edge of the camp. There, the path forks. One branch leads back toward Thebes, the old nestings, the restful fields. The other leads out into lands still unfamiliar, still weary, still awake. There are places you've heard where people still fear rest, where pillows are hard and sleep is treated like shame, where dreams are too sharp, too shallow, too loud. And so you go, carrying not solutions, not laws, not sermons, just the quilt pieces. The quiet, the softness, the knowing. You lead the group down the path, feathers catching your hair. A breeze follows you like a memory walking barefoot. The loom behind continues to hum, threading new arrivals into its embrace. Before you disappear over the hill, you turn back. Just once, and you see someone kneeling beside the loom. Not you, not Nebbit. Someone new. They press their own dream into the thread and the tapestry expands. You smile because it's working, not as plan. As pattern, and then you walk, with no map, no title. Only your breath and the soft pull of rest ahead, waiting to be remembered in a place where it has not yet arrived. Shh. The path is quieter now, not from lack of movement, but from alignment. Every step you and your companions take feels received, by the land, by the air, by the invisible thread that trails behind and weaves forward, tugging gently, guiding not where to go, but how to go. You carry no banners, no enchants, but somehow the presence of your group shifts the space around it. Fields grow softer after you pass, breezes slow down, animals emerge just to lie in your footprints, as if they've been waiting for your silence. You pass through the first village at dusk. It is not hostile, just hardened. People glance from windows. They do not come close, but they see your hands, your shawls, your quiet. And that night when you lay your pillows in the grass and close your eyes, one child sneaks out. She sits near you, says nothing, just watches. You do not speak. You offer her a swear. She presses it to her cheek like it's always belonged to her. She does not return home. She sleeps there, beside your group, beneath the stars, not afraid, not restless, but trusting. In the morning, others emerge, slow, hesitant, holding cups of tea or stories they haven't told in years. They ask what you're doing. You say nothing. You show them. That day, 3 people lie down in your nesting circle. 2 more sit nearby, watching, blinking, slower and slower. One whispers, "I didn't know stillness could be shared." The next night, they offer you their old bedding. Rough wool, no stuffing. You return it to them, but with a single square sewn into the corner. A beginning. You stay only 2 nights, because this isn't your village. It's theirs. And now they know how to stitch. You move on. The next town is noisier. The one after that, colder. Some laugh, some turn away, but in each, one stays behind. Sometimes a child, sometimes the loneliest elder. Sometimes a guard, always one. And it is always enough. The quilt you carry grows again, not in size, but in density. Each new patch holds not just softness, but trust. Proof that the deep dream can live outside Thebes, outside the loom, outside of history. You arrive at a river too wide to cross. There is no bridge, no boat. You consider turning back, but Nebbit places her hand on the quilt bundle and tosses it forward. It lands softly, doesn't sink, it floats. A bridge begins to form beneath it. Not stone, not wood, squares, stitched in air, unfurling stitch by stitch from the weight of faith. You walk across. At the midpoint, the water below stills, reflects not your face, but the image of the first black pillow. It nods, then disappears. You do not stop, because now the path is not behind you or ahead. It is within. The journey is not to bring softness to the world, it is to remind the world that it already has it. It only forgot. And with every step, every stitch square offered, every breath surrendered into rest, you help it remember that even the hardest places were always waiting to become pillows. The final stretch is it's a feeling, not a destination marked on maps, but a softening in the soil, in the silence in the hearts of those who now walk beside you, not as followers, but as threads woven from every pillow laid down and every breath released. Your group has grown, yes, but not into a crowd, into a fabric. People walk in gentle rhythm. Some carry squares, others carry nothing. One woman carries only her father's snore, folded inside a song she hums without realizing. There is no flag to plant, no tower to build, because you understand now, victory is not what sleep brings, it's what sleep restores. You crest the last hill before the horizon, and there it is, not a city, not a temple, not even a gathering, just an open space. A field so wide it could hold 100 dreams side by side. At the center, a single pillow, plain, worn, threadbare at the edges, resting on the ground like it's been waiting for centuries without hurry. You approach. Your companions stop. This is your step. You kneel beside it. Lay your hand across the linen and hear, for the final time, the voice that has followed you since that first night in Thebes. You remembered us. You smile, because of course you did. You gather the quilt from your pack, now impossibly heavy and impossibly light, and begin to unfold it one last time. Square by square, memory by memory, you place it around the old pillow, not to cover, not to replace, but to complete. And the moment the final edge settles against the earth, the wind stops, the birds hush, the breath of the world pauses, and the pillow breathes in, then out. And in that exhale, a wave moves across the field. A hush so wide and deep it rolls out into every place you've been. Thebes, the marsh, the garden, the loom, the sky, everywhere the quilt once touched. Feels it. People who've never met you sigh in their sleep. Children shift to find the cool side. Lovers pause their stories and listen to the silence between words. And far away in a city that once mistook tiredness for weakness, a king finally rests. His crown forgotten beneath his pillow, his mouth open in a soft snore that carries more peace than any decree ever did. You lie down beside the old pillow, not on it, next to it, because you are no longer seeking softness. You are softness. Your body sinks, your breath slows, and the quilt you carried rises into the air like dandelion seeds catching light. The sky dims, not with night, but with welcome quiet flicker before everything disappears into rest. You hear, we are held, we are home, we are whole. End of script. Sweet dreams.